and then YouTube eventually recognizes it and says, "Hello."
Hello, and says we are live.
Yes.
That is YouTube being nice.
Yes. We are live now. Perhaps. Yes. Yes.
Maybe. Yes.
Yes.
Possibly.
Hello there.
Yes. Yes. There we go.
Hmm.
The constant checks. Are we live? Yes. Are we live? Yes. Are we live? Nah, I don't know. Freaking. One of these days, we're just gonna be like, we're live, and it's gonna be like we're talking for like 20 minutes. In reality, we're not. We're not. It's just a speaking to the void, and then the computer after the fact is like, oh yeah, you weren't live. Well, there's 20 minutes gone. So hello! All that rambling aside, welcome to the Midweek Report. I'm Nick. That's Justin over there doing something. I don't know. I'm not sure what he's going to do. Like, I'm not sure what he's playing or anything, but he's doing something.
Portal. Playing Portal.
Oh, he's playing Portal. Ah,
Portal.
I see. I see. Well then. That works. So, today we will be discussing...
State of play.
Yeah, that. I don't know why I felt the urge to do that, but I did. So, we're just gonna roll with that. So, yes, we will be discussing the state of play for PlayStation. Weird. Okay, here's the weird part. This one was done last week on... I can't know the exact day, but I think it was like 5 days ago as of the time of this recording. Maybe 6 now. It was made like 4 or 5 days ago, or 5 or 6 I mean, by the time of this recording. Why is that significant? Well, there's also one planned for tomorrow. Now these state of plays are usually pretty sporadic and pretty spread out. One every few months, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's not too often that you get them, especially, you know, all in one go like this.
Pretty back to back in this case. In fact, or I was gonna say next week's, tomorrow's is gonna actually have something to do with the interesting new Harry Potter game coming out. Hogwarts Legacy, I believe it's called. I'm actually looking forward to that one because I like it. I hope it's some kind of combination between like Harry Potter-esque themes and like Persona or some shit, where it's like, I don't know, maybe you're managing school life while trying to become a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry!
You're not a wizard, Harry. You're a bloody wizard.
You're a bloody wizard, Harry! You're a bloody wizard, Harry! Oh my god! Anyways. So yeah, there you go. That is an interesting one. And since they made it the literal, like, screen thumbnail, that was what I was looking for, not screenshot, thumbnail of the expected show, I'm guessing they're gonna release the release date, because as of this point, they're just like, it's happening.
Yep, it's going
Here's
down.
the reveal trailer, but we're not gonna tell you when it's coming out. So I'm hoping they'll finally tell us when it's coming out now.
Yep.
But back onto this being the more current one, that being the more current state of play. Sorry, I did not get much sleep last night. That is why I sound completely sporadic and mad. There you go. But moving on from my screwed up sleep schedule, this particular state of play had a few interesting tidbits. It revealed, I believe, a few games we haven't seen yet for PlayStation. But covered also a lot of games that were also well known and well expected and stuff like that. Such as Ghostwire Tokyo, which is an interesting one. Let me just play it over on the side here so we can talk about what we saw in this one by one. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Anyways, for reasons. So the first one is weird. The first trailer that the thing opens up with isn't even like, it doesn't even like state of play. It just goes right into the dark meat.
Yeah. Like right into it.
And it's like, Capcom presents, and then you just see dinosaurs falling from, like, raptors falling out of the sky out of like this wormhole thing and just a mass. It's just... weird, and then you see people on a dropship, and you see mech suits, and you see people beating up these dinosaurs in the mech suits in just extreme mass. It's like Jurassic Park meets Anthem meets, I don't know, some weird, like, I don't know, the first Avengers movie or some shit.
Yeah.
As part of our required test protocol, we will
And
enter
it is
the
like,
test chamber. You will be entirely on your own. Good luck.
I would like to know the substances consumed when creating this game and its ideas.
Inform to me which substance was used to go and instate your apertured mind.
I mean, it's like, we're going to create dinosaurs falling from a wormhole in the sky, fought by mech suits.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yes.
And it almost feels like have you ever seen the movie World War Z?
Yeah.
Where the freaking zombies are just like climbing over each other and they're creating these constructs out of it and stuff like that. It almost feels like that in some like scenes of this like reveal trailer, I guess you could call it, where there are just so many of these raptors on screen at once that they just climb over each other. It is just absolutely nuts. It is just Capcom, what are you doing?
What did you do? What did you do?
What did you do?
Explain.
Anyways, this particular one actually doesn't have a release date beyond, I believe, either sometime this year or next year. I believe sometime next year.
Oh, there you go. So, if you're interested in getting into that, it's hopefully will be very soon then.
If you're interested in getting into fighting dinosaurs in a mech suit, you're probably gonna have to wait a year, but you're gonna have to be able to. You'll be able to. Hold on. Let me just see. Yeah, Exoprimal, they're calling it, which is very fitting. Coming 2023, so we don't know anything beyond that. Also appears to be PS4, PS5 thing. They haven't revealed if it's for other consoles. It may just be for PS4 and PS5. It's Capcom, so it wouldn't surprise me. They have done exclusives in the past. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna keep behind this entire show, I'm sorry. But, moving on from Exoprimal on the list, we have Ghostwire Tokyo, which is a game we revealed some time ago. I believe at the Game Awards 2-ish years ago?
About, yeah. Yeah, I think,
And this one's interesting. It really is, action horror-ish, I guess?
yeah, it's got a...
Mixed with a thriller?
Yeah,
Which seems interesting, and I feel like, judging by the looks of it, it would lend itself very well to VR because of the first-person aesthetic to it. Lotta Oni, lotta Kaiju, all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things, that is for sure. Just,
Lotta demons, but lotta Japanese demons running around. And neon lights.
Neon lights. Yeah, don't mind the eye contact. Just remember, don't have prolonged eye contact.
When looking at a demon, do not look at it in the eye for more than 5 minutes at a time. It feels really interesting, though. Like I said, judging by the fact that it's in first person, I feel like it would lend itself really well to VR.
Fantastic. You remained resolute and resourceful.
So that's interesting.
Of extreme pessimism.
I might check it out eventually. It looks interesting. I've slightly been keeping my eye on it, and it looks, like I said, fairly it is certainly unique as far as games go.
Yeah, it's got an interesting aesthetic going on for it, so it's definitely an eye catcher if you're interested in getting there. I need to tab it. We're back. We had a little hiccup because apparently my power decided to do something and some surge or something happened. So there's that.
Welcome to or welcome back to the show,
yeah,
depending on where you stand.
Yeah, if you are watching this live, this is going to be very botched. But if you're not watching this live, well, don't worry, it won't be botched because I will.
You won't know.
Yeah, I will be fixing that.
Oh my goodness. So for those who are unaware, well, you probably aren't because I have to redo this whole intro again. We're covering the state of play that was just released 5 or 6 days ago. Discuss the weirdness of the fact that there is another one coming out as of the time of this recording tomorrow, which again is fairly weird considering these things are in the span of months, not on the span of a week. So it's weird to see them this close together. We covered the first two trailers, which was what was it? Mech Primal or something like that? Hold on, let me just check it real quick. Oh yeah, Exoprimal, which involves raptors falling out of the sky. It's weird. Through wormholes and you fighting them with exosuits. So yeah, a lot of illicit substances consumed in that game's production, I'm sure. But anyways.
Careful not to curse yourself.
And then we were talking about Ghostwire Tokyo, which comes out March 25th. Oh yeah, the last one comes out, as far as they said, just next year sometime, 2023. They don't say when in 2023, so again, probably still early development. Well, at least early enough that they still don't know a release date yet. Or late, mid, early. It's weird. But anyways, then we're talking about Ghostwire Tokyo, a game that's been that's been announced for at least 2 years now. And it's coming up on its release date on March 25th. And I was just commenting on how it's a very interesting game. Real Japanese aesthetic in terms of the demons that it portrays and stuff like that. Really fits into like what the mythos would feel like for them. Because have you ever seen their mythology? Man, the weird shit that appears. And I feel like it would lend itself, like I said, very nicely to VR because of how it's portrayed with a first-person perspective. So, you never know. It might get a VR release eventually.
Yes.
And I was just saying, it has a lot of a feel of Japanese demons when the power surge happens, so I guess I just cursed our dear editor with, like, some kaiju. Or some,
Something, that is for sure.
Yeah, some yokai just is now haunting our editor. Someone get a priest. But our editor might need a house exorcism, but you know that's for another day.
That's
so anyways,
that's the second one's problem, not the first.
Yeah. So anyways, Ghostwire Tokyo coming up March 25th, so pretty soon. And then we go into, interestingly enough, the third trailer, Final Fantasy, and this one is Final Fantasy. Let me just get the name right. You know how these Final Fantasies can have stupidly long names. Interestingly enough, though, this Final Fantasy, regardless of its naming scheme, whoops. Stranger of Paradise. I believe I'm saying that right. Yeah, Stranger of Paradise. And this one is a Final Fantasy Origins game. Weird that it's a Final Fantasy Origins game. This is, I think, the first time there's ever been an Origins game, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm guessing this is like the origins of the Final Fantasy timeline. Which, for those who know the Final Fantasy timeline, is just about as weird and screwed up as the Kingdom Hearts timeline. So, yay.
There's that.
Like, if you ever looked at a timeline of Final Fantasy, it is not a straight line. It is a roller coaster. No, it would look like some avant-garde puzzle.
Yeah, it's got a lot of all over the place stuff.
It has a lot of like weird twists and turns. Like, it looks like some Van Gogh painting. I'll tell you that much. But it is not a straight line. Interesting though, because if you look at the Final Fantasy timeline, they start out with medieval technology in the beginning, and then they go to industrial era technology, and then they go to like steampunk technology, and then they eventually go to like modern technology like cars and shit, which is what you see in like I think Final Fantasy like 13 or something. With like they've got cars and airplanes and mech suits and all that kind of weird stuff. So Final Fantasy, despite feeling very different, is all set in the same universe. They just have a very rapid industrial revolution.
Very rapido.
They just discover steam and it's all uphill from there. Or downhill, depending on how you look at it. So anyways, Final Fantasy Origins, Stranger of Paradise. I believe this was revealed at the Game Awards last year, but we didn't get a name for it then. So I think we're finally getting a name for it. Interesting, like I said. I'm not sure what it will entail because it's Final Fantasy Origins, which is whole new territory. Like I said, maybe it'll cover the origins of the Final Fantasy universe, which, oh, I'm sure that'll be interesting.
Yes.
And while this
Where
one
we
doesn't exactly, and while this one doesn't exactly say when it's coming out, it does say it's coming out March 18th, or at least the demo version, or a new demo is coming out. Or no, wait, I think the game is coming out March 18th, and a new demo is coming out 5 days ago when the recording was made. So apparently, this is also coming out pretty soon. Interesting though that this is made by Team Ninja, who also made the not the Sekiro games, but the Nioh games. The Nioh games.
Mm.
Which is in the vein of Dark Souls almost. So weird how this will. Interesting how I'm interested to see how this will turn out. That one's also for PS4 and PS5. Ugh. And from there we move on to the next trailer shown on the list, and that is Forspoken. This one's been out for quite a while now, or at least it's been revealed for quite a while now. I think it's been out for. I say out constantly, but revealed, like I said, is perhaps the word I'm going for here. It's actually not out yet, but it's been revealed for some time now. This one is another Square Enix project, a very beautiful looking game, in all honesty. Which, from what I can surmise from what we've been told about the game thus far, some random girl gets teleported into a world of myth and magic, and it's basically Harry Potter all over again, except this time everyone's trying to kill Harry Potter.
Harry Potter must die.
Yeah. She literally goes into a world and like, you're a wizard gal! And then everyone tries to kill her. Because you're a wizard gal! Because... It looks really interesting, though. I mean, the graphics certainly look beautiful, so... I'm assuming this will be a very nice looking game.
Yeah, no, it's... high quality.
Oh, excuse me. So that's interesting. Just looking at the trailer now. So that'll be coming out October 11th. I think that is outside of the one in 2023, which is the first one, which is Mech Primal, I can't remember the name. It's coming out in October 11th this year. So outside of that one, this is probably the furthest along in terms of release date we have. Outside of the ones we don't even know about the release date. So I won't say anything about, them being long or short because we have no idea when they're even coming out. Maybe later in the year they'll get revealed. Who knows? And my phone just crashed, so hold on, let me reboot this.
Needs a bit of rebooting.
Technical difficulties all day today, children.
We're all suffering here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this one.
Brain.
The next one on the list after Forspoken, which again is a nice game, I might check it out eventually, is a new Gundam game. Who would have thought? Gundam Evolution. Ah, yes, Gundam. The true great-grandfather of all mecha anime. And probably one of the most well-beloved.
Yes.
I mean, I remember playing Gundam, like, on GameCube. Like, a Gundam game. On GameCube when I was, like, a kid. So, I didn't know it was Gundam then. I just kind of knew it was something to do with mechs. But now I'm like, oh, yeah, that was a Gundam game. Aha, I should have known.
Haha, funny.
Me being the stupid kid I was, I didn't know what Gundam was back then. I'm just like, haha, big mech go brr.
Mecha boy go brr.
Mecha boy go brr. But, yeah, now I know, so. In a way, I can say I have some experience with the Gundam games. This one is a lot more fast-paced. It's an arena shooter, interestingly enough.
Yeah, that's the one where there's the three three countries or kingdoms fighting each other, right? Or at least the two fighting the one, right?
No, I believe that's another one you're thinking of. The one that's after this for the trailer. Gundam is just giant mechs trying to kill each other under random and various circumstances.
Because, you know, we do that. We do be doing that.
But yeah, it looks like an arena fighter in the Gundam universe, so that'll be interesting. That might be an interesting, if it catches on, it might be an interesting esport one. And considering it's mech anime, considering it's a mech game, there might be part destruction and stuff like that, which has sometimes been involved in the Gundam games, where you can like destroy parts of your enemies and stuff like that. So it'd be an interesting kind of take on the arena shooter genre, where you can like disable parts of your opponents so they can't use them anymore.
Mm. Yeah, that would make an interesting combat style. That is for sure. Oh.
Don't tell me we got disconnected again.
No, I'm just doing,
Okay, good.
I'm just doing
I'm
aperture
getting,
testing.
Okay, there we go. I'm concerned.
Aperture
Okay.
science testing.
Anyway, as for Gundam Evolution itself, there's a network test for the US and Japan, which for those who don't know, basically translates into something akin to a beta. For the US and Japan coming spring of this year. They don't say when, but they do say spring of this year. So if you're interested, go to GundamEvolution.com, follow up on that. Maybe something will happen. I don't know. I haven't been there. Maybe you'll find something interesting.
Yes.
I will certainly keep an eye on that one, because that might be interesting. Next on our list of trailers revealed in this one is one that I actually wasn't expecting. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is getting a new game.
New-ish.
And new-ish game, yeah, new-ish game. You are right, dear editor. New-ish game in the form of the Cowabunga collection. Man, I feel dated just saying that.
Calabunga, my brother.
I can't remember who. I remember it was maybe it was a YouTuber or someone I knew said this. But they've known that phrase for so long, and they've yet to find an appropriate circumstance in which to say it.
Yes.
They'll find one eventually, I'm sure. But anyways, moving back onto the collection. This one is actually a collection of old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games from back in the day. Arcade scrollers and stuff like that. For those who weren't aware, TMNT was very popular in the arcade scene back in the 90s and stuff like that. They were one of the more popular arcade games. Or at least they were kind of out there. As well as things on the SNES and I believe other things. So this looks like a collection of their old arcade games and side scrollers and stuff like that. You know, from the bygone days of gaming when things were still back on like the Nintendo 64 and back when the world did not have color, or should I say the gaming world did not have color. So it looks like a bunch of side scrollers from back in the day. Really nice. Really nostalgia trip. So if you're old enough to remember the arcades, I know I certainly am.
The old arcade era. All of those old games.
The old side-scrolling arcade eras.
Yes. Or the fighting ones.
Tournament. This one includes Tournament Fighters, Turtles in Time, bunch of other games.
So if you're a good nostalgic
So
Turtles
if you have
fan, definitely something that if you're interested in, you'd want to get.
Yep, you have some nostalgia for the Ninja Turtles. You might want to look into that one. Also coming 2022, so sometime this year. We don't know where. Unsurprising, Nickelodeon's involved because they've owned the license to TMNT for quite some time now. And interestingly enough, Konami is actually also slapping their logo on this. Actually, I take that back. It's not that interesting. Because it's actually unsurprising when you think about it, because Konami, for those who don't know, was, and to some degree still is, a very big presence in the arcade scene. What's left of it, at least. And they used to be very big with arcade machines and stuff like that. they've transitioned in recent years from arcade machines to gambling machines for casinos and stuff like that, but I mean, move with the times, right? Personal opinions on that switch aside, you know.
Yes.
So, which is also, fun fact, why we have such things as Resident Evil slot machines. Yes, those exist. Don't ask how I know about them.
Resident Evil slot machines.
Yep, those exist, and I think maybe Metal Gear. Actually, no, I think Konami never. No, not Konami. I think Kojima never let them do that. But anyway, so that's existing sometime in 2022. The next trailer on our list, going back to the kaiju, Giant Monsters, is an interesting. It's another team beat 'em up or arena beat 'em up with giant monsters. This one's a little more are also arcadey itself. You know, looks like 4 players are slapped into arena. It's called Gigabash, also coming in 2022 sometime. A lot of games in this collection, you'll notice, have been given a 2022 release date, but have been neglected to be given a when in 2022, I mean, release date specifically. So they're certainly giving themselves a little bit of breathing room by basically saying it'll come out this year, considering we're still in March. They still have a lot of time of which to fulfill that promise in. Anyways, Gigabash as it's called. Interesting, like I said, looks like you can have 1 to 4 players, all slapped in an arena, trying to kill each other as giant monsters in what looks to be like massive cities and stuff like that, and it looks like there's arena damage, so you can smash buildings while you're at it. It's really interesting. Another one to look into if you remember thinking of the old arcade games. Yeah. Hear me. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, like I said in the last version of this video, so if I yawn a lot in this video, I'm sorry. Moving on. The next trailer we have revealed is Extreme. And I say that because of the subject matter revolving in the trailer. A new fighting game set in the world of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Ah, yes. The true the true embodiment of meme the anime.
Yes.
This is just what happens if you give like
Too much
Japanese
power to someone.
You take the Japanese culture, give it like 6,000 times more jacking. You jack it up like 6,000 times, and then put it on Reddit. This is the result of that.
Well, there's
there's
your JoJo fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. Ah, yes, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or as like I said, I like to call it meme the anime. Internet meme the anime, I should say. So,
Yes.
there you go. This one's also been given an early fall 2022, so at least they're not telling us just 2022. They're actually giving us a time window and when it's supposed to be revealed, or when it's supposed to be released. So look out for that. Also for PS4 and PS5. All the games revealed today have been for PS4 and PS5. Not sure if they'll get other console releases. This is a specifically PlayStation show, so obviously they're focusing on their systems, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of these games also came out on other platforms.
Yeah.
Especially considering a good chunk of them aren't proprietary, like Sony-based companies. So that would be my thinking. But regardless, look out for that in early fall. And it certainly has the style of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I'll tell you that much. Like, the art certainly feels like it belongs in that anime. I have seen clips from that show. It is a... it is a trip.
It is JoJo.
It is Jojo. Yes, it is Jojo. Anyways, the next one is quite interesting, quite surreal. Another side scroller, looks more like a roguelike, this one. And it feels very like film noir-esque. And it's Trek to Yomi. This one is very beautiful graphically speaking because it's very high detail, but it's also a side scroller. I say that as an interesting comparison because side scrollers tend to generally have their own art style to them, or they're not very detailed because they're often like artistic representations of stuff.
Yeah.
This one actually feels like a highly rendered side scroller, which is quite interesting. Or highly detailed side scroller, I should say. Taking advantage of new console generation technology, I'm sure. And hard to tell what exactly the plot is. We just see what I'm assuming is a samurai of some sort just carving through demons and people and a bunch of things. And at the end, a burning torii gate. So, that's charming. So that's Trek to Yomi. Interesting that it shows the people starring as the voice cast. So it really does feel like they're trying to play into that film noir-esque style, almost like an old Japanese film. This one also has not a specific release date, same as most of the other things in the show, but this one is spring 2022, so much sooner than the other one, the last one we just covered, which is set in fall. So expect this one to come out soon. I noticed something interesting about the developers on this one, and that the developer, one of them actually involved in this game, is a group known as Devolver Digital. And funny enough, they actually have been around since at least the Wii game, or at least the days of the Wii. Because I remember they made a arcade shooter for the Wii back in the day.
Yeah.
Set in the Wild West. I can't remember what it was called. I think I still have it too. So interesting to see them involved in this project. We'll see where that goes. Looks like a very nice game though. Very beautiful.
Well, there you go. There's some nice games already, seemingly.
Oh yes. And we're not done yet. Almost, but not done yet. We ain't done yet. This roller coaster ain't finished yet. The next one on our list is Returnal, which actually, it isn't actually. You're probably wondering, wait, Returnal's already out, and you'd be right. It is already out. It was one of the earliest games to come out for the PS5, actually, if memory serves. And, well, Returnal doesn't really need an explanation. It's basically what happens if you took Lovecraft and Alien. It's like what happens if you took the world of Alien and the mind of Lovecraft, smashed them together, and this came out of that.
Yes.
It is...
Do you want to suffer? Yes.
Oh yeah, and they sprinkled in... Oh yeah, and they smashed in bullet hell while they were at it. Take Alien, Lovecraft, bullet hell, smash all those three things together. Oh yeah, and a dash of roguelike, and you have Returnal. Yes, it is troubling. Yes, it is extreme. Yes, you will suffer while playing this game. And yes, it is a mind trip. I have played this game personally. And while I don't mind bullet hells, this game is between the surreal environment and everything else a little too surreal for me. It is just a little too on the acid trip level.
Too much acid. Too much acid.
Like, if you've seen the bosses in this game, they look like they walked right out of, like, some Cthulhian dream. Like, I'm not even kidding you. They're... creepy. And the dark alien-like planet that you're set on with all the bioluminescent creatures doesn't help either.
Well, there you
All
go.
of them trying to kill you, mind you, because what would a game like this be if they weren't all trying to murder you? Oh yeah, and there's also, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but there's inclinations throughout this entire game that it's all taking place inside the main character's head. and she's actually not on some deserted planet that won't let her leave. But it's all in her mind, which almost adds to the whole surrealness of everything. And anyways,
troubling nature of it all.
yeah. Anyways, this update, or this ad, is to reveal a new update for the game called Ad 1.3 Ascension, which looks like they're adding a new challenge level, or a new challenge set of levels called the Tower, and also it looks like the ability for co-op, it looks like, which is quite interesting. So now you get to bring your friends along for the hell that is the bullet hell as well. Now you get to bring your friends along for the surreal nightmare experience that is Returnal, and the Cthulhian nightmare that comes with it. Like, yikes. Most people who try to challenge Lovecraft are a little suppressed when they do it, but the dudes who made Returnal they drank deep from that well, and trust me, you can tell, between all the bioluminescent creatures, all the eyes, and so many tentacles, it looks like hentai on steroids, I'm telling you. Only this hentai is trying to kill you, so, yay. Moving on from that acid trip and a half. So update 3.0, Ascension, like I said, adding a new level, or set of levels it looks like, called the Tower. And like I said, it looks like it's adding the feature for co-op, I think. It says that now there's another version of her helping her, so I'm guessing that translates into co-op. Either that or an AI companion, but I really doubt it. And that is coming out March 22nd. So if you have this game, like I do, you can play along the experience too. Have fun. Look, I like roguelikes, but even this game was like, I played Dark Souls, I played Demon Souls, I'm currently playing Elden Ring. I am used to punishment, trust me. But a bullet hell in a 4D environment is just yikes. And it's a roguelike, so if you die, it is all the way back to the beginning for you. It is an unforgiving game.
To the start. Again. Try.
Again. If you go all the way to the level and die at the boss, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the level and grind your way back to the boss. It is unforgiving.
It do be like
very unforgiving. But anyway, Lovecraftian Cthulhu acid trip aside, I assure you we're coming to the end of the presentation. There's only like 2 more trailers left.
There's another 5 more advertisements, don't worry.
Honestly. This one's interesting because it is made by it looks like a strategy game out of the vein of something like Valkyria Chronicles. And I can't remember, it's something Chronicles. I can't remember what it's called. But it looks interesting. Looks like you're a war general in these. You were mentioning before how there are 3 nations, I believe you mentioned, Justin.
Yeah.
And this is the one you were mentioning, I believe.
Okay.
And like I said, it feels like Valkyria Chronicles. You're in the middle of a war. It looks like you're commanding troops on a battlefield and like turn-based strategy. Interesting, because it has a very interesting arts aesthetic.
Yep.
It looks like, with like how the lip sync is and everything, it looks like it could like work on the Switch. With how simplistic it looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It doesn't have anything too complex going on.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, it looks interesting. You're commanding forces on the battlefield. And then they call in some giant, sky demon lizard thing, so... Feels like a bit of Final Fantasy there, but or at least a little inspiration from it. Perhaps you'll be able to summon giant creatures to do super attacks on foes. That'd be nice. And we get this look of
My
like
special
war
attack.
tables. My special attack, come forth, dragon. But
The dragon.
like I said, honestly, if they're like suddenly they introduce a Skyrim update, that'd be interesting. And it is called the Diofield Chronicles. I am Dio. Sorry, too much Jojo. Fear not, it is I. Yes, it is I, Dio. Sorry. All the talk of Jojo. This is what it's come to. But anyways, the Diofield Chronicles, like I said, looks interesting. Looks like it has that kind of inspiration of Valkyria Chronicles, where you do turn-based strategy in like a warlike setting. Though it looks like it's less like military World War II aesthetic or World War I aesthetic, which is what Valkyria Chronicles was set in. This kind of like World War, I guess more World War I than World War II aesthetic Valkyria Chronicles. In fairness, for any who's seen it in like its art style.
Yeah.
And this one feels much more set in fantasy. So instead of tanks and guns, it looks more like you've got knights and armor and stuff like that. Maybe you have guns. We don't know. But like I said, looks more medieval than World War I. This one also coming to PS4 and 5. Not surprising. This is a PlayStation show.
Yep.
Maybe it'll come to more. I don't know.
I mean, kind of seems like a game that might work for PC. Depends.
Depends.
Yeah.
PC's an if for a lot of things when it comes to consoles, because it's not a question of if they'll work, it's a question if the consoles will let them.
Yeah, that too. It's just there are some games that like look very much like this would work fairly well in.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Returnal is on PC. Going back to that, I think maybe.
Perhaps.
But you are, excuse me, like I said, I'm yawning a lot in the show. But you are right, like you said, they would work for PC. And this one specifically would even work for Switch because of how simplistically it looks graphically wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that labor intensive. But anyways, moving on. I believe there is, one more trailer we're covering. This one is also from Square Enix. I believe the last one was also from Square Enix. In fact, now that I think about it, there's a lot of Square Enix reveals in this one.
Interesting.
Hold up, let me just check. Yep, last one was from Square Enix too. They do a lot of games, so not surprising. Big publisher. Another one's from Square Enix. This is the last trailer we're covering today. And this one is interesting because I feel like I've heard this name before. I believe it's Valkyria Connect. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I've heard the name before. Maybe something to do with Final Fantasy in the past. I don't know. Or maybe it's something else. I think there's this one game I have that had to do with Valkyria Connect, but I can't remember its name off by hand. I say that because I've just heard that saying before. I'm not sure if there's any relation to it or not. But I believe they even use the same symbol for those two things, so I'd be damned if they didn't. This game also looks pretty simplistic in terms of graphics, though it has a lot more in terms of particle effects, so looks can be deceiving. That might just have to do with the actual design style of the game than anything else.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. It's not Valkyria Connect. It's Valkyrie Elysium. My bad. But like I said, that symbol is familiar, and I don't remember from where. Some game on the PS4. I can't remember it off my hand. Maybe there's a relation to them, maybe not. Anyways, also coming to PS4 and PS5, unsurprisingly. Again, and also unsurprisingly, somewhere in 2022. So, that, my dear ladies and gentlemen, finally brings us to the end of the March 9th State of Play. That's all the trailers.
There you go. That's everything for right now, at least.
At least for right now. There's another State of Play, like I said, literally tomorrow, which, as I said at the beginning of the show, is weird because usually these are spread out over at least a month or two. But this one literally was like last week, and now they're doing another one this week. So, a lot of reveals. But then again, in the games industry, there's always been mumblings that we would see a lot of delays, like a year or two after the virus hit because of everything. Because by the time...
Though now, there isn't as much of a reason for there to be as crazy of a delay. Because at least now people should at least be able to have a somewhat of a plan. Not a perfect plan, but a little bit of a plan to be able to deal and work around it all.
Yeah, it's a little hard to work around, but they've certainly devised strategies. So.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't come up with a strategy by this point in time, after 2 years...
That's a you problem, man.
That's a you not wanting to make money problem.
Which, let's be honest, if you don't want to make money, what are you doing in business?
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
What is your purpose?
Why are you...
But anyways, that is, like I said, the end of this particular showcase. I will certainly be watching the showcase tomorrow. Might also do the show next week on it as well, because I'm sure that'll bring a whole host of new trailers. This one feels like a few smaller trailers that they've been working on. Most of them feel like they're from Square Enix, so they were certainly hauling a lot during this presentation. I certainly know that tomorrow they'll be talking about, tomorrow as of the time of this recording at least, obviously, they'll be going over, like I said, the new Harry Potter game, because that is actually the thumbnail for the whole presentation. So, at least that's my theory. It'd be weird if they're using it as a thumbnail and they don't talk about it. That would just be one hella tease.
It would
which doesn't really feel like what they would do. I will slip this in here. We were going to make this a little bit of a video, but or at least we're debating about it. We were talking about this a little bit ago. There's been mumblings in the industry that a new Sly Cooper game, for anyone who remembers the old Sly Cooper franchise from like back in the PS2, PS3 days, more PS2 because that's when all the games were, and then one game in the PS3 era, might be made a new game might be made. The next one, Sly Cooper, what would be at this point 5? Yeah, Sly Cooper 5 is apparently, according to rumors, in development by Sucker Punch, the original dudes who made it. For those who don't know. The first 3 games were made by Sucker Punch, and then a 4th game made for the PS4, or PS3, I mean, was made by Samzaru, who took over after Sucker Punch kind of, I don't want to say lost interest, but started doing other projects. And I mean, like I said, Sucker Punch is involved in the new Infamous games and stuff like that, or the Infamous games back in the day. Side note, there's also rumors that a new Infamous game is in development. Considering how, to borrow the phrase, infamous they were back in the day, it wouldn't surprise me. I certainly enjoyed those 3 games. And in the recent smash hit that they had, well, I wouldn't say recent, smash hit they had, Sekiro, there's a Easter egg cosmetic you can get in the game, where you can actually pick up a bandana, which is like one of the things you can wear in the game for your main character, that actually has the colors and like markings of Sly Cooper and alludes to the franchise in its flavor text as well. So clearly Sucker Punch is aware that people want a new Sly Cooper game. Clearly they're aware of it. If they're putting Easter eggs like that in their games.
Yeah.
So it's certainly possible. According to the rumors, it's going to be revealed at a state of play coming up, sometime in the year, perhaps. So I'm excited to see if that happens. If it's true, I'm going to be very excited. I was a big fan of those games back in the day. Not gonna lie. Now that Ratchet and Clank has proven that old games from the days of yore, the days of the PS2 can survive, I wouldn't be surprised they start dipping back into that well. I mean, in all fairness, Ratchet and Clank has survived like what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 console generations. Which, my God, most franchises cannot claim to have survived 1, let alone 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So props to Insomniac for for holding that torch for so long and keeping it going so well too. But anyways, back to the state of play. Like I said, that was just a side tangent I felt like I'd mention. If that ever does happen and there's a new one, expect a video on that.
There you go.
Potentially. But anyways, that brings us to the end of the state of play. At least for, like I said, today. Another one will be coming out tomorrow. Might cover that one, might not, depending on what they show. Who am I kidding? We'll probably cover it. But anyways. How long have we been recording for, my dear editor?
A little bit now. Just a little bit. Yep. Alright.
Well then,
we're at 42 minutes at this point for the
42 minutes. That's a nice number. I think we'll finish it there.
Alright.
So there you have it. You have the state of play as is right now. A lot of Square Enix games got revealed. A lot of things to talk about. Dinosaurs falling out of the sky, World War Z style. Always charming. And new military strategy games. A new update for Returnal. I didn't think we'd get one. That surreal acid trip of a game.
But we did.
But we did. But we did, ladies and gentlemen. We did. So, there we have it. Well, that brings us to the end of another show.
Yes. Well, hopefully you all enjoyed. And we will be seeing you in the next one, obviously.
Yep. We'll see you all next week. And remember something. I don't remember. I had an outro planned, and then my brain
Remember
just died.
the things.
Lack of sleep. Remember the things. Remember the Alamo. Wait. Yeah, remember the Alamo.
Wait a second. Remember the Alamo.
My brain is dead. Not enough sleep. Anyways, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, good night.